Hey, what's going on, everyone? Joe Menza here, and we're going to do a quick little painting here, more focusing on doing some reverse painting of the clouds. The first thing we're going to do is wet our paper down 3 times, as I always do, and then we're going to take a little yellow ochre, raw sienna you can use, and we're just going to kind of dab some in there, maybe where we want a little highlighted areas for the sky, just randomly placed. Okay, the next thing I'm doing here is I'm taking some ultramarine blue and some Payne's gray. I want it just a little bit darker. Just re-accenting a little bit of light with the yellow ochre. And again with the ultramarine blue and Payne's gray. Not too worried about how perfectly our brush strokes are here. Just want to get enough on there that when we dab out the clouds, there's enough paint on there to stand out. Just a little more ultramarine blue. And what we're doing here is we're taking a wet hake with no paint on it and just removing paint. And you can do this in however shape you want. You're going to have to dry your brush off in between dabs and maybe possibly rewash it. And as you're doing this, some of the paint is going to start running down. So you're going to have to do this a couple times if you want to replicate this. So that's what I'm doing in between. I'm rewashing my brush, giving it a few seconds and letting it come down, and then I'm re-dabbing the tips of the clouds where they would stand out the most. You can do this with a paper towel if you like. It comes out a little better, more natural looking with the hake. I'm leaving a little yellow in the middle just as a little bit of a light source. And I'm just dabbing a little bit of the dirty paint, we'll call it. I'm just dabbing a little bit on the underside of where the clouds would be. And again, I'm coming back one more time with a wet hake and just removing the tips of the clouds. And we've got a pretty realistic looking sky here. Now I'm taking out as much water as I can possibly get out. Very dry brush. And I'm just ever so lightly brushing across just to blend in. Give it a blended look. This is a tricky move here that you can destroy your entire sky if you don't do it right. And I'm just kind of fluffing up the clouds a little bit. Again, this is a mostly dry hake. I'm touching the paper just ever so lightly. Blending and blending. You don't have to do that. It helps to get rid of the smeared or even some cauliflower issues that can occur by having too much water running down. You can use a very soft synthetic brush too as an alternative. Okay, time to put in a little bit of a mountain here. A little ultramarine blue, Payne's gray, similar colors used in the sky. Just working out the shape of the mountain. Just trying to get the right darkness shade in there, adding a little Payne's gray. And leaving the light side of the mountain lighter. And we're going to come in with our closer mountain. And we're using burnt umber and whatever else was on the brush. And then with some darker colors just to mix it up a little bit. Pushes back that mountain in the middle. And I'm going to take my loyalty card here, a little plastic card. Cut a credit card in half if you want to. And I'm just going to scratch in some areas of the closer mountains. Works best on thick paint. And if you put too many in, you come back and you just use a little of the darker burnt umber. I'm also using some Van Dyke brown here. Just darkening up some of those crevices. And if you cover up too many, you just come back with the card again. I'm just giving them a little bit of spritz with a spray bottle. And just a little bit more with the card. Just where you think they would naturally fall in. And again, I'm just taking my brush and I'm just blending ever so slightly with a dry brush, and then I'm taking out a little bit of the bottom of the mountain to kind of blend it in for what comes next. So I'm just kind of creating sort of a misty area there. As we work our way down the page. And now I'm coming in with some Cad Yellow Hue by Cotman, and I'm using some ultramarine blue and a little bit of Payne's Gray, and we're just now creating some foliage, some tree line, nice and wet, and blending that in. Just a couple little fast strokes to start laying down some foreground, some fast strokes across, leaving some areas of white in the center. Water or reflections off the ground. And just adding a little yellow ochre to brighten that up a little bit, create some differences in the foreground. And now coming back in with a little more ultramarine blue on the brush. More Payne's Gray, as we want this to be a little bit darker. Payne's Gray, Cotman brand. It's basically like black with blue mixed into it. And in the foreground here, just a little bit more Van Dyke brown, which you can use burnt umber and Payne's Gray to make a dark brown. Quick little dry here. And we're just going to work on a few little foreground details just by dabbing in the brush, creating some grasses and things. Using some ultramarine blue, it stands out a little bit more on top of that yellow ochre. Just some more light dabbing until I get to a point to where I feel I've done enough. Don't want to overdo it and close off all your areas. You definitely want the contrast between the different colors when you look out into a field. You'll notice it varies from shades of brown to green. Just having some grass stick up over where the water is there. Darkening just a bit as I go, and we're closing in on the end here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, I thank all of my subscribers, all my viewers. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for subscribing. And your kind words have definitely encouraged me to keep going along. Adding a couple of birds in the sky now with my little micro pen. And we'll sign it. And we've got another completed painting. I hope, again, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any comments, leave them below. And I just want to encourage you to keep painting, keep practicing. Paint every day if you can. Even if it's one painting a day, paint it from beginning to end without stopping. Let it dry. And look at it the next day. Look at what you like in there and try to develop that into future paintings, the things you like. Don't focus on what you don't like, except to learn from. Focus on what you did good and how to exploit that so that you get more of that into the next painting. All right, let's zoom in. You can see our nice little cloud pattern. And here it is in a mat. Little birds flying, mountains, clouds look very realistic, and our foreground area. All right, everybody, thanks again for watching, and everybody make yourselves a great day.